Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Grada Robertson. And during this session, I am going to take you through some practices that will help you feel more relieved and released about your money flow. This week, I came across a post and it was to do with marriage breakdowns or relationship breakdowns. And according to the research, more marriages break down because of money stresses than anything else. So money stresses or financial worries are the number one key thing that breaks down relationships, and that causes a lot of hardship for people, a lot of heartbreak for people all around. And apparently real wages, like real wages as in what you're left with at the end of the day after you come home from work and so on, real wages haven't gone up since the 1950s. And so that also brings with it a whole lot of undercurrents and tensions and in our relationships that perhaps our ancestors many years ago didn't have to deal with, but we're dealing with that today. So apparently money is the biggest taboo as well in our society, even more taboo than sex. So like that means people talk about sex or their sexual stresses or worries or unhappiness more easily than money. So that also shows to me that we have a lot of shame around our finances, a lot of shame around money, a lot of shame to do with paying the bills or never getting ahead. And so this is one of the reasons why I started to dive into your or people's relationship with money, my own relationship with money too, of course, because whatever I teach, I have to walk the talk, right? Otherwise it doesn't have much power. And so before I go on, I just want to reassure you that I have this really amazing program that took me months to put together, and it's called the Money Mastery Through the Chakras. So our chakra system looks like this, right? And so we have 7 energy centers, and actually each energy center has its own relationship with money. So for instance, you could be conscious of one area of your life that isn't going so well with your finances, or you just get a promotion but you're still not managing to save money, like it's still going out as fast as before, or it's not multiplying. We have many different stories how the money flow doesn't flow and why we stay where we are. But actually the solution or the problems and the solutions can be found in each one of these chakras. So the chakra systems are just outside your body, and they're literally organs that organize the energy flow in our life. And have a guess what else is an energy flow? Well, money, of course, because it's called currency for a reason, because it flows, and it has to keep flowing for you to enjoy a good state of abundance and prosperity. So I'll just show you this, because this is, and it comes with a free mini program, actually quite a few freebies, and then the program itself, like, goes deeply, takes a deep dive into every chakra, and it comes with videos as well, so it's completely self-paced. And it would be hours and hours, weeks of study if you want to do it properly. And I have it on special for $99, or it could be $95, I'm not sure. That would be like spending hours and hours with me, which would normally cost a lot of money. So, but if you want to have a personal deep dive, and where I can help you to unblock your money flow, of course, booking for sessions with me, and I'll put a link below, because I've helped, people don't know that probably, but I've helped many people get into a much better financial situation by helping them, by being an investigator. Like, I do my detective work with you. I can see which influences are coming in and taking over the show in the background. So often people work so hard, they do everything right, and something is still not happening for them, right? So there is a kink in the cable somewhere, so that's my expertise, where I can unkink the cable. And I have also worked with a lot of men, so people sometimes have the impression that, you know, this is all like whatever people like to call it, wishy-washy or voodoo, but actually it's not. And I've worked with farmers, local business people, and we established a new, what do I call it, upper ceiling, like an upper limit. So like if in the past you were only able to ever have whatever, $1 million per year or something, if you have a business, I have helped these farmers or business people to exponentially increase their money to the point where one farmer, he was able to buy another farm and so on, when other people continue to struggle, because everything, your money is like an expression of something that's happening in yourself, like in your nervous system, in the cells of your body. Your surroundings are like a photocopy of your internal state, and this is also of course reflected in your money as well as your relationships, but I'm talking about money now. So if you want to do a shortcut, like if you want to stop struggling and give yourself a chance to do better, I would highly recommend that you go and buy the Money Mastery through the chakras. And it also goes into your DNA. So of course the chakras contain information about your DNA. So each chapter contains exercises and practices and meditations that you listen to that give you an energetic upgrade, and it changes your level, like it's like your level of receiving, right? Because you're receiving money into your life and then you are using that, you're sharing that out again. And true financial freedom is just knowing that the money will always come in more and more, and you can share that with others and be the life changer that you want to be. I just wanted to actually talk about myself, because quite often I think about the influence our childhood has on our results today. So like I'm 60 now, right? And I've done many decades of inner work every single day. I've done it for decades already, but before that I've always been interested in the mystical healing side of life, in the unseen forces, probably from since I was born, right? So I was born in a little township in a village in Holland, and I was born at home under a kitchen window where my mom used to give birth. So she had 5 children. My mom actually had a hunchback, so like a serious hunchback where her spine disappeared under her left shoulder blade, so her body was very short, but she still managed to have 5 children. And like today she would have had to have a cesarean, but in those days we were born at home under the actually, when I say kitchen, it was the dining room window. So I was born in a tiny little house that used to probably be a worker's cottage back in the days, like a few generations ago. And so next to the dining table, so I think the district nurses in Holland brought in a hospital bed, or like a delivery bed, and then the local GP would come and deliver the babies. And then outside on the little street that ran past the window, like the milkman would come and the baker would come, and you know, that's how it happened in the communities. And then the news would travel that, oh, Mrs. Blocker, she's had another baby at lunchtime, blah blah, and then people would flow in, and that's the community I grew up in. But I just want to make the point, the house I lived in for the first 6 years of my life was absolutely tiny, like, and there were 7 of us living in this little cottage with just one living area that was also dining, with a tiny little kitchen stuck to the side of it. And then the toilet was almost outside, so it was always freezing cold there. And then there were some little stairs that went upstairs, and then it had like a basically 1.5 bedroom. And I think initially the house didn't have a bathroom, but somebody built a bathroom in a cupboard that was just basically a shower. And so there was no insulation in those days, so they filled the walls with straw, right? So sounds like I'm talking about the dark ages. But I just want you to know, like, the times change so quickly. This is really true, and we are living in such a wealth of abundance today. But the thing is, perhaps our parents had more time, like for quality time, for relationships. Like, in some ways we're richer now, and in other ways we have been impoverished. So I'm making this point because where you grew up, the first 6 or 7 years of your life is key, right? So just think about, where were you born, and what were your parents' circumstances like, and what did they feel about money? How was their relationship with money? Because we're in a relationship with money, whether you like it or not. And all that goes into your body, that's gone into your nervous system, because you soak it in like a little sponge, and you have no filter, and that becomes your reality. And that now creates the results that you have today in your life. And if you don't actually go back into your early childhood and work with somebody like me, or does inner work, your results are never going to change, right? So my blueprint for money was those first 6 years of my life, being born in a little house and no luxury. It was like, but my parents were happy, but that's not the point. I want to have more money than my parents ever had, because I want to have a different lifestyle, and money brings freedom and choices, and you can have impact. So I actually had to completely turn my nervous system inside out to get away from struggle street, because a lot of Dutch people have this thing that, unless you work hard, unless it's a struggle, the Dutch people they feel proud about their struggles, right? It isn't worth having, or you don't deserve it, or money is somehow less meaningful, and all the rest. And so that is the environment that I grew up in. And on top of that, my father had his own business, and he was like more of an inventor and a producer than a business person. So he did these boom and bust cycles, and it was very traumatic for us and for my mom. And so when my youngest brother was born 7 years later or 5 years later, my father was just going through bankruptcy. And it was very humiliating in those days, because I think there was a sign on the back door to say that he was going bankrupt, and then this person came in to see what they could take out of my parents' house to pay some creditors or whatever, to pay off some of his debts. And of course my parents had nothing, right? So they didn't even have a fridge. So that, anyway, he always found another business, and then he got going again. So then after that period, we had another 7 years of boom time, and my parents had it good. But then my father's factory burned down in the middle of the night when I was 11, and then we had a period of hardship again, and then things came good again, and then he nearly went bankrupt again when I was 20, and I won't go into all the rest. So this is my wealth blueprint. And so I've worked so hard to become conscious of what drives me, because I don't want to be like that. I wanted a different life. I want stability, security. I wanted my children to have a better start than that. And I just want to be really honest about my money. And so Pete and I've created many fights over the years, just to get Peter to own up where we are with our finances, because it's also very hard sometimes for guys to own up, and for women, by the way. So like I said earlier, the statistics show that couples or people don't like to talk about money. Even couples, like if you've been together for a long time, there's so much taboo around it, more taboo even than sex. So everything that's taboo has a lot of shame. And the energy of shame is the energy of death, right? So everything has an energy, and the energy of death, I think, is 20 hertz or something, or megahertz, I'm not 100% sure. And the energy of shame is almost the same frequency. So when we don't talk about these things, and we pretend everything is fine, like my father used to believe, it was all in God's hand, because I grew up as a very strict Christian, so everything was always left up to God. I see some people do that today in spiritual circles, right? But that's called spiritual bypass. For instance, if you're thirsty, you don't say to God, well, God will make sure that my body is dehydrated, right? You go to the tap and you have a drink of water. So Source or ultimate creator wants us to be wealthy and wants us to be honest as well. And it helps us to be abundant if we are honest with ourselves and bring clarity to the table. So I just wanted to talk to you about that. So today I live in this enormous house. By the way, I didn't really plan it like that. It just grew on me over the years. So like we've doubled a house. So we used to live in the same house when I have had all the 6 kids and a little clinic here on the property. And then over the years, we've been here 20 years now. We just renovated. We had some big renovations done. And just even if I compare where I was born in the tiny little house under the dining room window, you know, with street, the cars driving past, I live in absolute heaven now. And I've got, I don't know how many rooms. I've got a separate apartment that could be Airbnb. So I've got 2 kitchens in the house. I think 6 toilets or something like that, 2 dining areas, 7 bedrooms, 9 acres of beautiful forest. And we've got another little cottage that's Airbnb as well, that's completely separate, and it's an income stream, right? So you can change your life and own what you like, feel that sense that you deserve it, right? That change your DNA, your money DNA, and it requires actually some work, because miracles can happen overnight, but like you can win, say, Ted's Lotto or something, but usually if you haven't done any inner work, your nervous system isn't able to hang on to that money, and usually it just shreds your nervous system to bits, wrecks your life, wrecks your energy centers, kills all your relationships, and you're worse off, way worse off than before. So this is why it's more important to heal your life, heal your relationships by looking at doing these exercises that I've supplied in the course. And the course is so cheap that everyone can afford it, and you can have it for the rest of your life. And just look at it when once a week maybe, you already create massive change. And then of course I work one-on-one with people as well. So if you book in for a session with me, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, I can tune into your body straight away. I can tell you, oh, that money block comes from your grandfather or your grandmother, or, you know, we carry our ancestors' trauma and blockages in our bodies, but we can also access their wisdom. Sometimes I bring in my father's parents' wisdom, because they were different to my father, so they were very, very well off already during the Second World War, when the rest of Holland was starving. They had businesses and property, and they always had food, and they sometimes used to smuggle horse and cart load of food into the neighboring towns to help friends who were starving. So they were savvy business people, but of course by the time I was born, they already they were retired, and my grandmother had Alzheimer's, so I never directly was able to ask her what they did or how they thought, but I do that now. So I energetically tune into my grandparents' wisdom, and they help me make wise decisions today. So I can help you do that with you as well, and just provide the missing link, show up your blind spot, help you get clarity around things, and just really remove those stresses that you might have in your life. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and I was feeling a bit sentimental, of course, about my birthplace in Holland. And if you have any questions, or you want to know how this works, or just simply go ahead and do the Money Mastery through the Chakra course, I highly recommend it, because it will change your life in ways that you could never even imagine. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. Let me know how I can help you, and I hope you have a really good week. Become friends with your money, and then you also become better friends, or your relationship will deepen and you get a lot of peace and clarity in your life. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know what you think and how you get on with your finances. Bye for now, everyone. Big love and hug. See you next week. Bye.